All right, hello folks. This is the Operator Framework Upstream Community Meeting for 20th January 2026. Sharing the agenda here. I guess I'll put my name on here. All right, I added a couple of items to the agenda. I guess before we get through that, I wasn't aware of any briefs or RFCs at this time that are impacting the upstream community and have any review completion targets. So if folks on the call are aware of any of those, please make sure those get added so that we can make sure we have visibility on it. Looking at old actions real quickly.
I'm adding a few.
Okay, please do. Yeah. So I had an action item from the last meeting in this time slot to try to do some cleanup on our project board. I did try to do some cleaning up in that area, but I think that the process is not complete and it'll take some additional effort from folks like me to come in and make sure that we're aligned here. I know that there's some stuff that, for example, I think there's some design docs that are not listed against some of the epics that we're showing here on the board. I'll walk through this in a minute. And it'd be good if we could get those linked up here. It would also be good from a visibility perspective if the current initiatives being worked by the maintainers are also represented here so that we can communicate those out as well as show progress for people who might be watching GitHub as a primary artifact source. All right, I have a couple of items on the agenda. It's going to feel horribly self-serving, but I would like to generally proceed from the entered agenda items before we go to open the floor for general input. So at the risk of that, let me dive through here and see if we can get to some consensus here. So the first item is, what does needs docs phase mean to us? Is there a way for us to get it to a place where we can mature the contributions or close them? And what I'm talking about here, to give some context to this, if you look at, for example, our release train, we have 3 epics, which are basically all finished, except that they're marked as needs docs. And we've done some talking about what that process looked like. Michael Peter was going to try to help us give some structure to that maturation process, but I think that he has been overwhelmed with other things. So yeah, I'd like to get some discussion on the topic. Camilla, go for it.
I think we should close the epic because as a contributor, we did the doc and put in the docs draft, right, for all these cases. So we should put. Then we have a whole in contribution that would be someone more skilled in the docs, take from the draft and put in the public API at some stage. So I think we need something like needs, I don't know, docs expert in contributor, and then we to move eating A, B, C from draft to
So
public
let
API.
me make sure I understood you correctly. You're saying close these as is with their contributions to the drafts area of the docs, and then create
Yes,
something new that would serve the purpose of getting somebody experienced with docs to come and look at that work and mature it
move.
into our general docs.
Yeah.
So my concern there is, how is that different from what we're doing right now?
Yes, because actually we put everything. Everything is in its docs because the docs it exists in the draft, but not in the public API because Michael could not help us with these ones, right? So I think the the position needs docs give the impression that the maintainer that did the code and did the draft of the doc for the docs experts didn't deliver the doc. So I think we need something to highlight everything that we have that needs Michael's attention and what is done by the rest of the contributors that are not docs experts.
Okay, but does it change our expectation of the time frame in which this would get completed by doing that? Right? Like the problem I see that I would like to see solved is that we mature a thing to this level and can't go past it. And so everything gets parked here and we never complete anything. And I'd like to see if there's a way to do that. And the most basic form of this looks like, why don't we create some tickets to literally just move the draft document contributions to the formal docs area? And if we find that those docs contributions are lacking in some fashion at a future date, there's nothing that prevents us from correcting that with an iterative change. But it feels like we're making perfect here the enemy of good enough to
So
me.
I think your proposal, let's see, understood. I think it's the same that I'm trying to propose, right? For us, who do code, right? Who is not a docs expert. Uh, the epic is done when we put it in the draft docs, right? I did the code, I did the draft docs, I can close, right? But then when I do that, I also have a more one task. Create an issue that is move the doc draft A to public API by an expert. And then we have a lot of issues that you signalize what is required to be moved to from the draft to the public API, public docs. Like,
So I think we only differ on the aspect of the needs for an expert to do it. I think us waiting for an expert has resulted in us waiting without limit. And I'd rather show flawed progress and be able to incrementally improve than show no progress while waiting for the perfect thing to occur. So
so
yeah, I agree with you with the idea that maybe we open another ticket to do the migration from draft to what I'll call formal, but it's not really formal. But I don't think that we should be gating it on an expert to do it. I think we should feel like it's a ticket that any of us could take and work to make that migration. If we don't like the results later, then we can improve on it. I like one of the things that you mentioned there, which is the idea that we try to draft some guidelines as we go through this process to try to set expectations.
so mainly what you are proposing is different, right? We have here needs docs, right? Instead, we leave that forever there because we are aging Michael, and Michael might doesn't have the availability to help us with that, to put in the formal stuff. We should do this once. We need to start to be committed to take the draft and put in the formal thing, right? Then my question is, why we need to do the draft in the first place? Because the only reason to do the draft is like having Michael as a goalkeeper, right? If everybody you put in the public API, we don't need to do the docs draft anymore, unless we have something that is something that we don't want to put in the public API now. So for now, we will leave in the docs draft, right? And then we have a task with the criteria when we can promote that for the public API, right? Like for the future, I don't know. Um,
So I think we could definitely talk about the mechanics of this more. If there's a more refined approach that folks would prefer. The crux of my argument is our goal for maturing the docs contributions has a bus factor of 1 right now, and that's not a way to scale and maintain support for the project. And so we need to have an approach that will allow the team to move forward even when Michael, our designated expert for this, it doesn't have the bandwidth to be able to contribute.
Yeah.
So I've been proposing solutions that don't get rid of the draft thing, because if Michael suddenly finds a bunch of time and he finds that a useful interaction, then we can have him construct guidelines maybe that help us mature things out of draft without him directly being involved. So I've been more focused on the idea of right now that doesn't exist. Can we do a thing right now and get these contributions into our documents? Right? Because, for
So
example, I get questions on some of these topics, and I throw people to the Epic as a reference, say, here's where we are. This is basically done. We just have to go through a docs formalization process. And they're like, okay, but where are the docs? I don't want
yeah,
to throw people at a draft link, right?
yeah. No, I agree. I agree 100% with you. I think the fact of we have these epics there for, I don't know, 6 months, it's a proof enough that something's wrong, right? So I think the right question that maybe we need to find an answer for is when we put in the drafts and when we promote from the drafts to the public API, what is the criteria, right, that we are looking for? The draft should be used in what situations, and when we take it from there and move. Has more than one question as well. Each feature that we add should have a documentation, right? So would it be the documentation in the draft or in the public API, the requirement criteria to consider it completed?
So up to this point, the practice has been we would get the draft docs as part of the Epic's PRs merged in. So now we have docs in the draft directory. And then we would just move the Epic to the state needs docs. And this is one of those Far Side cartoons where they're like, and then magic occurs. And then suddenly the docs come from draft into our main document project view. And that's where we've been lacking a good mechanism where anybody can pull that lever. Right now, the lever's been called Michael, and I'm trying to get the lever called to whom it may concern.
I also have another question. I think one of the reasons for the things get stuck as they are is because of the feature gates, right? If we come back there, I believe all of them are related to feature gates. So should we put the feature gates in the public documents? I believe that yes, because people can use that, right? It's not a reason for not. But I believe that we don't have an area like predefined, like a layout or something like made by Michael to for we put that.
I think that's an excellent question. I don't have an answer for it right now, but I think that definitely we should be looking at this. I guess my first request would be for folks to take a look at these three epics, and we can take time to do so as part of this call if we get through the rest of the agenda. Should be really easy to do, and then maybe we can put some solid ideas behind answering that question, at least as a start. They really got me thinking on that one.
I think
Okay.
we have only one problem because the docs draft idea was a proposal of Joe, right? And I don't know exactly how to answer the first question without what he has in his mind, right? The criteria to be drafted or not, right?
Well, no, I think you summed it up well. At least my understanding of it, you summed up really well, which is the idea that non-docs experts would mature things only as far as the draft. And then a person who is more facile or familiar with writing documentation would take those contributions and integrate them to our formalized documentation. But as I said, it's not happening. Um, we have a bus factor of 1 on getting that work done the way it's been defined right now. So I submit we need a new definition.
And I agree with another thing. We should not have any process that rely in only one person specifically. We should have always a process that because if this person dies or have no the bandwidth, right, to help on that, how we can.
I'll go one further and suggest that any maintainer should be able to walk up to this and have a decent understanding of the expectations for them in regards to doing this. And I'm not suggesting it'll be perfect and that it won't be subject to review. But on the other hand, nobody should go, I can go this far and no further with regards to this. Right. Any other discussion on this topic? Okay, let's move on to the
Oh,
next one. Sorry.
do you want to try to answer the questions today or let that for another day?
Well, so I would be happy to have that. So I guess I would like to hear more than just you and I speak on the subject because I could suggest a thing, but if there are other opinions out there, I'd like to consider them before I go draw a line in the sand.
Just one thing, maybe the criteria for the draft is like, is my feature gate incompleted? Or I'm not sure if that is something that actually, is a partial, it's something that we are delivering incrementally, but it's not there yet, right? So I do the doc, but we still, many tasks, many, it's not like we finish, it's in the middle of the epic. It's not at the end of the epic. Let's put it, I don't know if that makes sense.
So what if I'm a person who's interested and I'm watching this project and there's something that's being done, there's an epic going on, and it's behind a feature gate. The feature gate is off by default. Then are you suggesting that until the feature gate is on by default, it would not be documented? Or help me understand that edge.
Until the epic of the feature gate be like completely, because for example, I start to do box cutter, right? I can start to document the things that I'm doing step by step, and I'm improving incrementally that stuff. But I know that it's not there yet. Like it's not a thing yet. It's like in the middle. When like we do have like a beta version, right? Alpha, beta, GA. Is the problem is I don't think we wanted to work with beta features maybe.
Okay, so from a different perspective, let me make sure I'm understanding this because my approach that I was describing up to this point has been sort of along the lines of when we're merging a functionality PR, there would be a draft documentation associated with it, so that every time we're pushing code, we're pushing docs associated with that code.
Yeah.
And you're suggesting instead we would push a certain number of PRs and then we would reach a maturity level.
No, no, I agree with you. Always together. But when we put in from the draft from the public, I agree that the docs always should be with the code, and the docs test always with the code.
So I know my initial concern would be that it generates a and also effort to do a thing.
Yeah.
But I guess we already kind of have that because we're like, how do we how do we escape draft and into the real docs? So there's already an extra. So whether if we say you've gotten to a beta level on your feature gate, now we do the extra versus we do the extra at all times.
Yeah, make no sense. I think the problem is, does it really make sense the docs draft for feature gate things? Or I think the docs draft it maybe makes sense for something like it's a workaround, is something, but indeed it doesn't make sense, right? Because it can be a fake, it can be so many ways we can put a info that is like, okay, that is how to solve this problem, because we still with this bug, for example. I don't know. Actually, in the docs draft, if we open now there, I believe that everything that we have there are feature gates documentation.
Yeah, everything that's here is behind a feature gate or it's even about the feature gates. Um,
So maybe to unblock this one, the first step is, Michael, could you help us just let us know how you view to for we start to move the feature gate things for the documents? If he be able to contribute with that one example, then we follow that and move out the stuff from there. Maybe one idea just to unblock. Doesn't answer our questions, but a way to move forward from where we are now. And sorry, I spoke too much. It's just trying to bring ideas like how get out of this scenario for a scenario where things move.
yeah, I have no problem with the idea of reaching out to him and saying, "Hey, can you do a just this once, look at these things just so we can try to get these three things unblocked. And then we're going to try to scale what we learn from that into a set of guidelines." Uh, we can ask the question. If he says no, I think we need to have further discussion here on what a self policed approach to this looks like. And like I said earlier, I kind of feel like it would be a mistake to immediately say, hey, let's not do the draft thing. Let's just make all contributions directly to the docs area. But it's certainly a possibility. Okay, so then I think I'll go ahead and I'll take an action to go and ping him and see if we can get some special attention on just these three, four, no, three. Okay, sorry, I got confused by the header. Um, See if we can get some feedback on those, and if so, maybe it'll give us enough feedback that we are able to conceptualize guidelines in general.
Thank you for the action. Thank you for bringing that. That was a good thought.
Yeah, no worries. All right, any other conversation on that topic right now, or are we ready to move on to next? All right, cool. Moving on. Just a note here. I think, Camilla, I'm just reporting what you had already mentioned, so you may have more words on this, but controller runtime now supports Kubernetes 135. So we can start working on or unblocking those bumps in V0 and V1 repositories.
And what version of Go does it require?
Good
Good
question. I
thought.
haven't looked
Let's
at this.
see. One moment that I'll let you know. Controller runtime, GitHub. Here we are. Usually they are putting .0, right? For because it's a library. Yes, 1.25.0. So we are
Okay,
fine.
so that should be good. I know we are currently limited to 1.25.3, although I expect due to some CVEs out there that require 1.25.5, we should see that version soon. Crossing fingers, even though the last time I checked, it wasn't available. The last time I checked was, I think, yesterday.
The only thing that you like to share, maybe it is check this PR, because yesterday night I did the PR to bump Cube Builder. And then, fortunately, they have some break chains. I has more break chains than that, right? Here I have only the 3 break chains that affects the Cube Builder scaffold by default, right? So one of them is webhooks interface that change. The other of them, I don't know if you will use if you will raise any kind of event. If you are raising events, then has a small change. And another thing that is not documenting the release notes, but I face problems with, because in Computer we have many integration tests, so was easily get that. Uh, the If we are using the setup with testing stop directly, like the tear down cancel directly, start to fail. Needed to wait 1 minute, roughly, and eventually wait 1 minute, then all goes, right? Was the other find I put there for the users. If he sharing, because maybe if we face the breaking change into the scenarios, we have the solutions already is there. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of good documentation in the description of that PR. Thank you for that, Camilla.
Really, thank you. I hope you help the others as well. Break change always is a problem. It's always painful.
Absolutely. So I captured that on the agenda there for reference for anybody who wants to go find that later. So it looks like there'll probably be some manual effort related to these. It won't be something that Dependabot will be able to reliably push for us.
I think we use the webhooks in controller operator, right? So will you be impacted by? It's just to change the interface and whatever, but yeah, maybe something broke and we need to figure out as well. Like the scaffold of the Cube Builder is doesn't have the implementation, right? So I get only the chains. Yeah, we might have a bigger impact. And it also has more breaking chains if you look at their release notes that I didn't face so far. So
All right, thank you, Camilla. Other discussion on that topic? Cool. All right, any other agenda items we want to talk about? All right, shall we talk about the board? Shall we go through some of these items here?
I think we can. Why not? I think one of the problems that we have is we are not actually properly updating all this stuff. So if we can at least clean up,
Yeah,
would be
absolutely.
again.
Okay, so this one is actually done. So we could actually close this one. Single owned namespace. It looks like all the items identified in the description are done, but it's in the needs doc. So this
Yeah.
is one of the ones we're going to get Michael to look at to see if we can get that moving further. We have a closed one, timed out. This, I would say, general configuration. I think there's some documentation that we have, but I haven't tracked it down, that has something to do with the general configuration. This one is currently closed. I guess I would like to see, well, I guess I would expect to see that anything that we've closed due to timeouts belongs to the 1.x, not the 1.1 instead. Does that feel reasonable to folks?
Yeah, sure.
I'm not sure what the expectation was for it beforehand, but it doesn't look like it's there. All right, progressing retry limits and new reasons. This one is frozen.
It's not done, and definitely I think that is something that we should move for our gira, because I think that is something important, right?
Yeah, so it looks like Joe froze the life cycle on this one, which I would interpret as, yeah, we want to do this, but I would say let's take it out of 1.1 and move it to 1.x, since we don't currently have a plan for it.
Okay.
Next one is direct bundle installation. This one just went stale. I think this is still something that we'd like to do, but we're not
Yeah, but
acting on it.
that is weird, right? Instead of resolving it from the implement a solution from we did that with that feature gate that we remove, I think. Ed did this something like
Well, there have been a couple of PRs that attempted to
uh,
do it and that were both decided were not the solution we wanted to stay with. So I know that like Joe had done a PR, but he did it considered a proof of concept, but there were rough edges on there, and he wasn't able to get this to the point of mergeable. And then
okay.
I know also that Per had done some work as part of the single owned namespace where he found it useful to put together a minimal implementation of a
Should we
direct bundle
frozen?
installation.
Should we frozen this one? Because otherwise it'll be closed. Has no.
Yeah, it is currently closed. I would agree with that. Would change that to a frozen. Folks don't have a problem with that.
Just yeah, remove the life cycle stale and put frozen.
Okay. Then I'll also reopen it. And I will also move it to 1.x. Don't read anything into those dates. I don't know how GitHub generates those dates, but those are inadequate representation of what's going on here. Let's make sure it's not doing both. It's not. Good. All right, next. Perf scale. This is in need stock. I think this one needs to be out of, oops, sorry. I think this needs to be out of the stale. It needs to be frozen and reopened. Since so much of it has been done, we're just waiting for it to cross this documentation threshold.
Yes, yes, totally agree. So we have more one in that list.
Yeah, so now we do have those 4 issues that I was talking about earlier. Why are you making me click twice? Get out. Cool. And initial kubectl operator plugin updates. This
This
one
is
has a
something that
bunch of.
lose the priority, right? I think Ankita was working on that, and it was decided that she will no longer move with that. I don't know. Maybe Catherine can remember. I don't know.
Well, it just
Better.
looks like we got to a certain point and then have not progressed further. But I would suggest that this should not be closed and it should be, the other things, right? Shouldn't be stale, shouldn't be closed, should be frozen, and should be in 1.x. At least until
Will
we
you
can get
do
some,
that?
yeah.
Okay. Or at least until we answer that. Yeah.
Okay. So that takes care of everything in the 1.1. We have about 15 minutes left.
Permissions validates pre-flight phase. That's one. I think we don't have the decision if we will have or not pre-flight, right? But you always close it. Need stock. So what about putting 1.1 as well, since it's only document?
Yeah, I'm good with that. Yeah, that does make it a little easier to group those things so we can point Michael at just one blob. Okay. Yeah, done. So we just need to hear. Cool.
Frozen.
Oh, was it not?
Otherwise, you'll close. One point, right? The ones that are closed because they're done or yeah, it was need stock. Okay, sorry. Or was stale thing.
Yeah, I didn't
Closed.
reopen it, so it did not stale out,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
And the job we take only 20 issues per week to update, like to not be a spammer in notifications.
Got it. So you're suggesting we need a frozen on this one?
I think it's good, right? It's doc, or at least decide what you'll do, if you will have or not replies.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, we've got enough visibility on it being in
Yeah.
1.1 and open
Yeah.
that we can point Michael to it easily. Let's see, templating engine. Really not sure about this one.
I think
there's some
that it
work that we've
was
got to go.
config API.
Yeah. I think there's some configure or some documents that we have on this one, but I don't know the current status. Still listed as designing.
I think we can ask can we make a question like, is that one done, since we already have the config API in place, because we have already and we promoting in upstream, or has anything else beyond define the config API?
The current assignee is no longer a maintainer on this project. So whom would we ask?
To Joe that interacts there. Hopefully he will have a context. Or Todd is here. Todd, I saw your name.
I think this is think this is basically the config stuff that Onyx been working on.
Okay. Let me grab a link to this.
See, it basically says it either needs to accommodate the V0 subscription config setting, which is basically what he's doing.
Yeah. Okay. Take that as a note to follow up on offline. So I'll defer action on that one until we get some feedback. Progressing.
That is the one that we saw. We needed to find a way to like reconcile X times and after stuff or analyze if you want to do that. For don't be like reconciling forever.
So I know there's some work that Per and Daniel were working on that had to do with the cluster extension revision timeouts. Is it possible that this is related to that? And that would not address cluster catalog, however.
That is definitely a good question. I think we can also ask for both of them. I know that is my pod, but I think both. Project did one part of that and the peer as well.
Yeah, we're definitely not going to go through all of this list by the time we get, by the time we run out of time, but we'll get through what we can. Direct bundle, we kind of talked on this one.
Yeah, we are
I think we've frozen it, so.
Yeah, the support of the delete policy, we still need that as well. It's part of the box cutter thing.
Okay, so then we need to make sure that this one it is open.
Not
But
stale.
as you say, it's if the job only takes 20 per iteration, then it might find this one later. So let's freeze it. And I can't type. Never mind. Okay. And it's in 1.x, so that's good. Configure user group permissions to an operator's provided APIs. I'm content to let this one stale out right now. Although it looks like there is an RFC associated with this that was approved.
Todd, I see your name.
Yeah.
Do you remember
Name
that?
is on this. Now, what the hell did I do here?
I don't know.
All right, so the scope of this
wait, go back.
I will. Give me 1 second. The scope of this is that we're looking for finer grained permissions configuration for operator APIs in V1. Okay, so looking at this.
Yeah, this was a while ago. Can you click on the upstream epic? What's the status of that epic?
I mean,
Oh, it's
around and around and around we go.
Yeah, fine. Okay. Who closed it? Because it was last edited by me.
It's closed as not planned. And
by
so
whom?
it's staled out by the bot.
It's like no interactions for too long and to close the issue, but actually, maybe always done.
Yeah, so I would definitely, I want to reopen this one based on the fact that we do have work against it, it feels like we should never stale out something that we're actively working,
Yeah, can you
even if
just
there's a
quickly
pause.
go to the RFC again?
I
I
will
think the
absolutely, let me
IRPC
reopen.
is before that is from 2 years
Use
ago
customers.
or 1 year and each.
This, yeah, I mean, admittedly, this is over 2 years ago. It is kind of familiar.
User
This was like,
access mode.
yeah, I'm looking at the example there. It's like kind operator. It's like, okay, that is old. It also says the title says defunct.
It does. It also says closed approved. So I was going to scan down doc and see if we could find what happened.
If I remember correctly, this was I forget what we called it, but there was a tool that was created around this. Um, and then once it was created, it was decided that that
Pre-flight.
wasn't the direction we wanted to go in.
I think it was the pre-flight thing, right? Because the pre-flight you go there and check the permissions that is required.
Yeah, this feels like something I worked on.
I would say that is outdated, right?
Yeah,
It's
so
closer.
Todd, can I just ask you to take a look at that, take a look at this epic, and if we abandon this work for a reason, would you record the reason in the epic and close it out?
Yeah, can you just give me the epic number?
383.
Okay. I'll take a look at it and explain why we closed it if I can find it.
Roger that. All right, I think we have time for like one more. Helm charts.
No,
You
that's too
got
big.
one very hard.
So it's frozen. It's in 1.x. So I think for right now we don't need to do anything about it. Yes, it's too big.
Yes.
But I think that we're going to see this break down into different pieces, not probably implement this. But since we don't have all of those pieces, I don't really want to touch this one.
Right. I'm also noting that, we've done a few of these things. I mean, like I'm looking at number 2 up there, the warnings. It says, don't use Helm as the back end. It's like, yeah, we're currently removing the box cutter. So under the warning, right underneath the warning.
Yeah, I think now is not the right moment, but at some point when we start to have more bandwidth to do, maybe we could like take that overall helm brief and see if we can break in macro tasks on this one to help and put the stats right so we need to do 16 items. We did 3. We have 7.
All right. So I can add a note on here that we need to break this down into.
Yeah, maybe if we create a epic for each item of the overreaching home side support, or ensure that we have probably many things we have the epic already, right? Like one of them was box cutter, as far as I remember. So we have many. We probably have epic for box cutter things. I don't know, right?
All right. Well, for purposes
At
of
some
this
point.
discussion, we can make sure it's still open, still on 1.x instead of 1.1, and is frozen so that it doesn't go away out from underneath us.
Yeah, I agree.
And then we can definitely have further conversations about breaking that down in subsequent meetings. And I'm going to draw a line there just because we have like 2 minutes left, and I'm not seeing any other easy rocks to kick. And I want to make sure that we leave some time if there's something else that's come up that we need to take care of. Let's see. I'll create the next meeting agenda, looking at the last action items here. I'll create that for the next meeting, which will be an MEA APAC friendly timeframe.
Who is in BTC next week? Let's see.
And I'll go poke the folks who will be doing that. That looks like
Catherine or
that'd be
Hashim?
Catherine or Rashmi. And then the
Ta-da-da-da.
last thing is I'll have to upload this recording. Okay, cool.
You can fight for who will be the host next week.
All right. Any last comments, questions, things we didn't address that we
No,
need to
really
right now?
really thank you for that, Shana. That's great. I think we did a lot of progress.
All right. Thank you, everyone. See you at the next one.
Bye.
Bye.